welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. The other day, ESPN embarrassed itself again by trying to dismiss Caitlin Clark, but not dismissing her outright. First, ESPN used Caitlin Clark to try to set her up as if they were acknowledging her greatness in college basketball. But then ESPN flipped the script and then went on to try to diminish her. Notice I said try to diminish her, because you cannot diminish what Caitlin Clark has done, not just professionally, but as a college basketball player at Iowa. So let me just give you a little bit of background here. There was Sam, is it Ravitch? Sorry. Ari Chambers, Alexa Philippou, and they had a segment that was titled, "Is Caitlin Clark the greatest of all time in college basketball?" And they did this segment on YouTube. They had a discussion. Now let me stop there. This is the title of their segment. Is Caitlin Clark the greatest of all time? Then you enter the segment, and they begin to talk about the top 5 in women's college basketball. You're going to see it in a moment, but let me just break this down for you. So you have this title, is Caitlin Clark the greatest of all time in college basketball? Then you enter the segment, and they put Caitlin Clark up as number 5 first, and then they remove Caitlin Clark altogether. So let's lead with a title that suggests she's the greatest of all time. Let's set her up as possibly number 5, and then let's remove her as not belonging on the list at all. And the reason they gave was because she didn't win a college title, a college championship. So let's talk about how flawed ESPN is, as if you didn't already know. The fact that you're even mentioning Caitlin in your conversation tells us that she belongs in the conversation. If you didn't believe that Caitlin Clark could even be considered as one of the greatest of all time because she didn't win a national championship, you wouldn't even be mentioning her. You certainly wouldn't have her as the title, right? The reason you mentioned her is because you know she belongs in the conversation. Of course, also, you're trying to draw attention because because she's one of the greatest, people are going to want to see what you have to say about it. Once again, you don't talk about a person who doesn't belong in the conversation. Caitlin not only belongs in the conversation, some might say she is the conversation in the same way that she is the needle. But ESPN comes up with some bogus thing about she never won a title. Of course, we know that Caitlin Clark's Iowa Hawkeyes went to the national title game twice, when she was a junior, when she was a senior. I didn't say she was at UConn and went to the national title twice. I didn't say she was at South Carolina and went to the national title. Hey, I didn't even say she was playing for my Lady Vols and went to the national title twice. I'm saying at Iowa. She stayed home and went to Iowa and took this team of regular folks. We're not talking about these players with great accolades and All-American and great. We're talking about Iowa. Great program, great coach in Lisa Bluter, great player in Caitlin Clark, but not by any stretch of the imagination one of the greatest teams that had the greatest players around Caitlin Clark. And these people on ESPN should know that. So they can talk about Breanna Stewart all they want, who went to UConn, who had all these people around her. How do you diminish a player like Caitlin Clark, who took people nobody really knew about and took them to the title game twice in a row. One might say, and I am one, that what she did was the equivalent of even more than those on a stacked team where there's talent left, right, up, down, all around them, winning a championship. So if the question had been, is Iowa in the top 5 greatest teams in history, we can say no, because the criteria is you got to be winning. You got to be winning. You got to be winning the chip. So I think we can all agree that we're not going to argue that Iowa is in the top 5 or the top 10. You could go more than that as a team, because championships are about team. So no, I'm not going to sit up here and argue and say Iowa is in the top 5 teams, which is precisely why Caitlin Clark should be considered in the top 5 as a player. See, if Iowa had been in the top 5 as a team and Caitlin Clark was not great enough to get that incredibly great team to win a title, then we got to talk about that, because it's about all the pieces. But since Iowa is not in that conversation, we've got to look at what Caitlin Clark was able to do as a player and what she did with that team that's not a top 5 team, taking them to wins, being the scoring champion, taking out Pete Maravich, doing everything she did, all the awards along the way. I'm not going to mention them. You've heard of them. You can look them up. Too many to name, just like too many to name in the WNBA. She did it in college. So no matter what ESPN tries to say, the reason why they're saying her name to begin with tells us that forever, Caitlin Clark will be in that conversation as the top, if not the top, in the top 5 of women's basketball. Not saying she's number 1. You can figure out in what order you want to put them. Some of you will say number 1. I ain't arguing with you there either. But to say she's not 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, you got to be in a whole different universe, in your own mind, in your own delusion. She took a team of regular Joe Schmoes, Jeanette Schmoes, Shaniqua Schmoes, whatever you want to call them, and led this team. Led the team. She didn't do it alone. She led this team to incredible heights, doing what no one else has done, far surpassing, and she had to pass to surpass players before her. To say that she's not in the top 5 because she as an individual did not take a team all the way to the title, to winning the title, is bogus. And ESPN, if you don't know that, you need to turn in your press passes, your credentials, and everything else. So we're just going to look at that segment. I'll stop along the way. Pretty much said what I had to say about it. But let's take a look. And as they say something ridiculous, I'll stop and comment. Correlation on X has it. And so here it is.
Love Caitlin. Love how she's transcended the game. I'm not going to go away from that. But in the art.
Okay, got to stop here. Whenever they start with love Caitlin, this is Ari Chambers. Whenever they start with love Caitlin, you got to wonder why you got to tell me you love Caitlin right before you try to diminish her. That's why.
In the open, we said, what makes a top 5 player? Winning. The only strike against Caitlin Clark is that she has not won a national championship. And that is the only thing that you can put against her, because the way she has dominated the record books when she was at Iowa was something you cannot duplicate. She's a 3-time NCAA scoring leader and assist leader, a true point guard for the people, 3-time All-American, 2-time Naismith Player of the Year, 2-time AP Player of the Year, all-time leading scorer. She broke the records of Kelsey Plum and Sabrina. Like, literally, there is nobody who has been such a front-facing name. It through a direct reflection of her skill set. But how can...
Okay, so if she was a lawyer, she would certainly lose the case. Okay, she just told us why Caitlin Clark is in the top 5. And is this Alexa back here? Because she's looking like she doesn't even believe her. She's looking like, okay, hurry up and get this over with, because this isn't ringing true. She totally broke down all the reasons why Caitlin is the top 5. Totally. So if you were a lawyer, you would be horrible, and somebody should be asking for different representation. If your purpose was to disprove Caitlin Clark as one of the top 5, you failed miserably. But she didn't win a national title. After you're naming all this, but she didn't win a national title. She did everything. It cannot be duplicated. You just said that. But, you know, she by herself was supposed to win a national title on a team that's not like these other teams that I've already mentioned. Nonsense. So back it up just a little bit and go from there.
Direct reflection of her skill set, but how can you be a top 5 player if you have not won a title?
Because winning a title takes a team. You can be a top 5 player whose team didn't win. We're talking about college. We're talking about what she did with Iowa. I said this already, but this kind of stuff is just so ridiculous. Remember, their title started with Caitlin Clark being the greatest of all time. And now they're saying she's not even in the top 5. Bogus on a different planet.
It's a great point, which is why
Alexa got nothing to say.
Convince me, all right.
Look, let me go back. She looks over at Alexa. And Alexa's like, I would love to have a body language expert. Not that I believe in all those things, but I would love to have a body language expert read with look at the look on her face. She's like, and she's over here. She's looking for Alexa to bail her out. She's looking for Alexis to nod. She's looking for Alexis. And, you know, she seems to agree as it goes on. But in the moment here, she just kind of like, I don't know, you kind of pushing it right here. And, you know, hey, she doesn't know what to do but purse her lips.
A title.
And then she just smiles. She's begging for an amen. And Alexa is one of them quiet folks. She don't have an amen. She's got an internal nod, I guess.
It's a great point, which
She
is
just
why
blinks.
I agree with you. Convince me, all right.
You're still not
Let's switch it
showing
back.
anything. She almost
Again, we read Cheryl Miller's resume. She's a winner. She's a winner multiple times. Yeah. But like, I have a really hard time. It's like paining me to leave Caitlin off this list because of the records, because of what she's done.
Oh, it pains me to leave Caitlin Clark off the list because absolutely, positively, I am required to say that you have to have won a championship. So it pains me, just pains me. These people
outside of those 94 feet, she has really thrust.
She's still making the case for Caitlin. Lawyer fired. She's still making the case for Caitlin, but she's gonna, by golly, I'm gonna stick with you have to have a championship. Even Gino has changed his mind recently because it didn't look so good for Paige this year. First, you got to have a championship. You got, just like Breonna Stewart said. And then all of a sudden now, recently, oh, you don't have to have a championship. But these people, oh man, they're going to die on that hill.
Basketball in the mainstream. She has collected her individual accolades. I
get it.
Alexa,
I hear you.
Let's go back. Let's go back to Alexa. She don't agree. I don't know what she's doing. She's crossing she got her leg crossed over here. She puts her hand up like this. She's just like, I got to go along with the narrative because that's what we do. That's what we do around here.
Alexa,
I hear you.
I don't know. Whatever.
Get it?
Oh.
If picking.
Oh man, these people. This stuff is so funny. Poor Alexa, right? She's just like, and I guess it wasn't in that piece because I saw more of the video, the whole video, and the whole video again, they had put Caitlin Clark up as number 5 and then pulled her down. which makes it even lower. Like you starting out talking about her being the greatest of all time, and then you put her up at 5, and then you go, you're gonna rip her down from 5. Listen, Caitlin's not losing any sleep over this, but these people, when you're gonna have a job talking about sports, you kind of gotta like for real. If you're, it's just like you've got to win a championship. Can we name other players who never won championships that are great players? I mean, there's something to be said for championships. There's also something to be said for taking an Iowa as far as Caitlin Clark did. Again, we're not talking about the greatest 5 teams. We're talking about individuals. And you already said it cannot be duplicated. So if it cannot be duplicated, then it cannot be duplicated, which means she's done what no one else has done, which means she's obviously one of the greatest. And again, no matter how hard they try, the fact that they're even talking about her proves the point. There are lots of players they didn't mention. I wonder why. But they mentioned Caitlin, who doesn't fit their criteria, but she's in their title. These people got no conscience. I said it. What are your thoughts? Get in the comment section. Be respectful, please. I know it can be hard not to blast these people completely, but sometimes you just got to laugh about it. So I welcome your comments. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. I'll catch you next time, God willing. God bless you, Amanda.